My name's Dr. Caraba. I work over at Bridge Veterinary Hospital. So I'm going to talk to you guys today a little bit about getting a new pet and what to expect and what goes with that. So obviously, everyone during the last year or so has decided they want a canine or feline counterpart. So a lot of people are first-time pet owners, and that's always exciting. But with that comes, a lot of responsibilities. So I'm going to go over today just a little bit of stuff that people don't usually know, but kind of help you get used to having a pet. A lot of things go into getting a pet. The type of pet. Puppies are obviously more work than older dogs, but older dogs have their ailments and things of that nature. How new pets will get along with old pets. That's always something to consider. And there's quite a few responsibilities that go along with having a pet, from feeding to the vet responsibilities, training, finding sitters to take care of them on vacation, when you go on vacation, things like that. All these are things to consider before you go ahead and get a pet. A lot of people usually get their new pets or new family members from shelters around the area, and that's always great because you're always, any shelter or rescue you get from, you're always helping rescue an animal from other situations, which is always a great idea to do. There are also breeders and things like that. As long as they're responsible, that's always a good option as well. Puppies or older pets, a new family member is a big commitment, but it's always pretty rewarding. Obviously, there's most common pets that people usually get are cats and dogs, but a lot more in the last couple of years. We see people getting other pets as well. A lot goes into what to get when you first get a pet. There's so many different types of foods and things of that nature, and it's all dependent on what type of dog you get or what type of cat you get, and if they have any other underlying conditions or things of that nature that require what food you feed or what activities they do. And training always is best to start in puppies. The earlier the better. I'm going to kind of focus a little bit more on the first vet visit and when you should bring your pet to the vet. Usually we always recommend getting your pet seen within the first week to two that you have them. That way we can look at them head to tail and kind of give them a clean bill of health for when you first get them. We do everything from looking at their teeth, looking at their ears, listening to their heart, feeling their legs. With puppies and kittens, we usually require a little bit more vet visits in the beginning. Vaccines are the first step for most puppies. A lot of different vaccines that we offer are based on what your pet's lifestyle is going to be. Certain vaccines are required if your dog's going to do hiking, or if you live in an area that is near woods or lakes. Each thing requires different protection from different diseases out in those areas. So we offer a multitude of vaccines here, and we base those on whether your pet is going to be outdoors a lot or around other dogs a lot. That's usually some of the big parts of the conversation we have with you with new pet owners the first time they come in. They're going to be around other dogs. If you're going to be doing a doggy training or grooming, we usually recommend vaccines that help with diseases passed back and forth between other dogs. There are, obviously rabies vaccines and things like that for wildlife. There's a multitude of vaccines for both cats and dogs. Everything's a little bit different. Obviously, cats usually have less vaccines because they're usually inside more. So those are, usually where we start with the conversation. Feeding, like I said, with different types of food, all the way from behavior, training, things like that. It's always better to train your pets early on so they're used to training and they catch on a little quicker when they're younger. That's kind of usually a bunch of the minor details we go over in your first vet visit. Once your pet's all caught up on vaccines, which usually takes a couple of visits, then usually we recommend having a pet, that's had all its vaccines, seen about once a year. Usually at those yearly visits, we go ahead and, make sure pets are maintaining weight, they're eating well, they're not having any medical issues. Usually we recommend some blood work occasionally from year to year. You check a fecal sample or a urine sample. That way, we make sure their internal organs are functioning well and the inside matches how they act on the outside. That's usually once a year as they get older. That's kind of some of the things we recommend, there's a lot of things that people don't know about, or stuff like heartworm and flea and tick prevention. Usually we recommend those in all of our pets, indoor or out, just to prevent from any type of heartworm disease or flea and tick borne diseases. Those are usually conversations we have at your first vet visit that not new first time pet owners don't necessarily know much about. There's a lot of products that we use to kind of prevent rather than treat these type of illnesses, because it's always better to prevent than treat. Kind of the last thing I'm going to just discuss a little bit about would be, a lot of people, the biggest question for new pet owners is reasons to go to the vet versus reasons not to. There are certain situations in the field with pets that require emergency visits, that requires taking your pet to one of the emergency hospitals at any given hour. And then there's others that can wait a day or two. And I think that's the hardest decision to figure out when you are new with a pet, to figure out exactly when is the right time to take your pet to the vet. So like I discussed earlier a little bit, if puppies usually go a little bit more frequently in order to get their vaccines. We usually think it's a little bit more emergent when your pet is vomiting or having diarrhea if they're not eating. We usually like to get that checked out sooner rather than later. Some things that could be causing that, dogs or cats will eat stuff they shouldn't, and can cause obstructions and things like that. So we usually recommend, if your pet is having any sort of diarrhea or vomiting, things like that, that we get them seen sooner rather than later, because we want to get to the bottom of whatever the issues are. Other things that people bring their pets in for, if a cat or dog's running around the house, they start limping, having trouble getting around, if dogs jump off the bed and things of that nature, they can get soft tissue injuries just like humans can when they turn an ankle or something like that. So we like to get them seen, and we need to do x-rays, things like that. Similar injuries that humans can get, pets can get as well, and we like to usually get to the bottom of them to keep them as comfortable as possible. Other things that could be emergent, any type of wound or injury where there's an open cut or sore. Usually if there's any type of wound from trauma, dog fights, things like that, we usually like to make sure those get taken care of sooner rather than later. There are certain issues that usually can wait a day or two. Dogs get allergies, and if they scratch, or an ear infection, sometimes it's not something that needs to be rushed to the vet that same day. But it's still important to get your pet seen, because these are common ailments that they can deal with, that a quick trip to the vet can rectify pretty quickly. And their comfort is the number one thing that here at Bridge we care about. That's usually, in a nutshell, what we do here. It's very interesting having a new pet, and it's a lot of responsibility sometimes, unfortunately, but it's always fun and rewarding. We always enjoy seeing new pets, new puppies, new pets of all ages. That's kind of the main spiel of an intro to getting a new pet. There's obviously, we always appreciate hearing from new clients. If any questions or concerns, most veterinarians are always willing to pick up the phone and talk about different issues, whether they are big or small. Everyone's got questions. And even when you have a new pet, it's a roller coaster of an experience, but that's why we're here to help out with that transition. And that's what we usually go over in our first vet visit and any visit after that. That's the main spiel about having a pet in the first vet visit.
Support public libraries. Like, share, and subscribe for more great videos.